What's going on, everybody? My name is Aiden and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be discussing the things that we could potentially see with Zach LaVine returning to the lineup ahead of our, next game against Charlotte and future games to come. Now, like it or not, there's a possibility Zach LaVine could play a fair bit of games before he ends up on his way out of the Chicago Bulls, and there's even a possibility that he could stay with the Chicago Bulls this season. Now, I don't know what the future holds for Zach LaVine or for the Bulls. I really don't. But if we're going to try to make this work, whether it's one game or the next 30 games of the season, we need to figure out things, and we need to figure out how we can, not see a lot of clashes with this Bulls team when we get everybody back and ready to go. But before we get any further, if you like the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and Zach LaVine, and do you think that this partnership between the Bulls and Zach can work for the foreseeable future? Not saying for the next 4 years, not saying for the next 2 years even, but as long as he's here, can the partnership work? Now, I actually enjoyed Zach LaVine's game heavily against the Charlotte Hornets. I think the only weakness I really saw from him in that game was that he was 1 from 5 from the three-point line. That was the only weakness I saw, because other than that, it really felt like he made an effort to get people involved in the game and to not take the spotlight away from people that were really balling out for the Chicago Bulls when he was out of the lineup. Looking at guys like Coby White here, who had an amazing game against the Charlotte Hornets. Even guys like DeRozan. You even saw guys like Dalen Terry start and have good performances in this game against Charlotte, while Zach LaVine was on the bench. But not even just that. Zach LaVine was on the bench, had a very good efficiency game, dropped 15 points, and played some very good defense in the process. Had some nice one-touch passes, got out in transition, didn't have to do everything on the ball. This is the type of Zach LaVine I want to see in the future. But again, I think there's going to be a little bit more if we're going to see this partnership work with Zach LaVine. So this is what we're going to be discussing today. First things first, the clashing needs to end. I kind of just briefly mentioned it, but again, the thing I liked about Zach LaVine was that he did not hog the spotlight. He did not come in, take the ball in his hands every single possession, and try to make something happen with it. Whether it was pick-and-roll offense, step-back threes, just complete total nonsense shots, poor IQ shots, and stuff of that nature. It really felt like he was trying to get involved in the game from a different standpoint, which is exactly what needs to happen. And now it's about focusing on the consistency of that happening every single game. Zach LaVine said something after the game in an interview suggesting that he was watching how this Bulls team was playing and he wants to find a way to fit into that category. And this is the way to do it. No clashing. No fighting between Coby White and Zach. Look, there's no actual fighting, but, when the ball is in Zach LaVine's hands, it takes the ball away from Coby's hands, the ball away from Pat's hands, the ball away from DeMar's hands, the ball away from Vooch's hands. And again, the key to the success of the Bulls winning games this time around was the ball movement. Everybody was moving the ball. It was, we may have lost some games in the process as well, but we've never really felt closer to a team in the last season, I would say, season and a half, than how I felt watching this Bulls team over the last couple of weeks and months. So it is as simple as that. For the past 2 months, I really think the Bulls have done a little bit better at trying to be a collective team, and Zach LaVine has to fit into that category. And that goes into what, we were doing at the beginning of the season this season, and that was constant two-man game, constant Zach LaVine and Vucevic pick and roll, or DeMar DeRozan and Vucevic pick and roll, just constant isolation or even stagnation if there wasn't isolation. No one was moving without the ball. There was literally no offense without those two guys, and everybody struggled. There was not one person outside of DeMar or Zach that actually did well in games, and we kept on losing and losing and losing and losing because of it. So the clash has to end. But number two, Zach LaVine has to do more without the ball. We saw it in transition in this last game against Charlotte, and I think we can see it a little bit more. Just running without the ball, trying to make an effort to get himself in open situations where teammates can pass it to him. Coby White has become a very good playmaker for the Chicago Bulls. DeMar DeRozan is a solid playmaker for the Chicago Bulls. When you get Vucevic in the games, he could be a solid passer for the Chicago Bulls. There is quite a number of passing players in this team, and Zach LaVine, I get it. Zach LaVine, often there is stagnation with him when he has the ball in his hands, but Zach LaVine can also pass the ball. I mean, there are certain games throughout his season where he's had double-digit assists, 8 assists. In the last game, he had 4 assists. He can pass the ball with, just as much as anybody else, but it's just finding that way to do more off the ball, even when he has the ball in his hands, how to get more people involved when they are off the ball. Just focusing more off the ball. I think that is the number one thing for Zach LaVine as well. He can have a lot of catch and shoot opportunities with this Bulls team, and he's going to do a lot more than 1 from 5 most nights when he's fully healthy and he has the rhythm going. He can do a lot more than 1 from 5 from the three-point line. So that's something I cannot wait to see. That will really prove Zach LaVine's presence off the ball. But if Zach LaVine has the ball in his hands, when guys cut, like a Patrick Williams, or, you know, for instance, Alex Caruso does this a lot, or Torrey Craig when he comes back, he likes to cut off the ball a lot. It's important to try and find these guys and get them involved, because what happens is, if you have the ball in your hands, like Zach LaVine does, I don't think you're going to get the ball out of his hands every possession. Eventually, the ball is going to find his hands, and he's going to have to make a decision on what to do with that ball. If you could find those cuts, if you could find those open players moving without the ball, it's going to force those players to keep doing it. I think that's also is what works with this Bulls team without Zach LaVine in the lineup. Coby White found the corners. Coby White found the pick and rolls. Coby White found guys that can have hockey passes to other guys. And that's really how things really translated into victories and translated into team chemistry. And why we have seen great numbers of assists from this team and great passing displays from this team when Zach LaVine has been out of the lineup. So Zach LaVine needs to find a way to join that, you know, join the party, I guess you could say. Join that atmosphere and enjoy that atmosphere, because if everybody's healthy, there's a good chance you're going to walk away with a win, and that's going to make Zach LaVine happy as well. And these are just small things, I think, for the Chicago Bulls. Finally, the defensive end, that's pretty self-explanatory. The defensive end is absolutely necessary for the Chicago Bulls. There's no other way to describe it. What the defensive end does is essentially, again, one of the biggest things for the Chicago Bulls when Zach LaVine was out, was in the lineup, my apologies. Their energy started slow, and the Bulls gave away massive amounts of runs. Massive amounts of runs. There's no secret when Alex Caruso comes into the lineup, boom. The Bulls don't necessarily give up 20 to 5 runs in the first quarter anymore. And that's because there's a lot more emphasis on the defensive end. I think you're even seeing this a little bit with Andre Drummond in the lineup. What, I guess, stopping an alley-oop can do, or what getting a defensive rebound can do, or getting a block shot can do. It forces energy that can translate to the offensive end. That's not something we saw with Zach LaVine. When Zach LaVine was in the starting lineup, this Bulls team struggled from beginning of games and in the third quarter of games. So, again, I think that is because of the defensive end. And that the energy on the defensive end from our whole starting five together, including Zach LaVine, just did not match. But once you bring that defensive energizer in the team in Alex Caruso, everybody gets that energy. Again, energy is contagious in this league. You bring an energizer into the team and the whole team gets energized. That it is as simple as that. Fully charged battery. You know, that's what this Bulls team often is when you see a guy like Alex Caruso start games. So if Zach LaVine is going to come back to the starting lineup, I think he has to find a way, just like the rest of this Bulls team, the rest of the starting five has to find a way to bring the energy into the game on the defensive end. That has to be a necessity, because eventually Zach and Vooch are going to come back to the starting lineup. They are not going to sit on this bench forever. And if they can't find a way to bring that defensive intensity, knowing that they are two of the weakest defenders on this Bulls team, Zach LaVine more off the ball, Vucevic more in the pick and roll, but they're still weak defenders for the most part. If they can't bring that energy, then I don't know what this Bulls team is going to do, and eventually someone's going to have to get sacrificed out of that starting lineup. It is as simple as that. So these are the things that I think Zach LaVine will need to improve on if he wants to really fit and gel with this new look Chicago Bulls team. The first game was a very good impression in my opinion, and I don't know if he's going to be here for 5 games or 55 games, but the fact of the matter is, as long as he's here, I want to see him fit into this system and prove that he can be a valuable piece for the Chicago Bulls rather than a hindrance. And if we don't see these things for Zach LaVine, if we don't see the off-ball movement, if we do see stagnation, if we do see lack of energy on the defensive end with Zach LaVine in the lineup, then the only answer remains is that Zach LaVine cannot play for the Chicago Bulls this season. Whether it's a trade or we sit him out for the rest of the season, I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know if the Bulls are going to cop those fines or not. But Zach LaVine should not be playing if he can't bring the things that we need him to bring to this Bulls team as one of the leaders and the highest paid players. So we'll have to wait and see. This is going to be an experiment, I guess, for the next couple of games to see what we could get out of him. And let's hope it's a successful one. But that's going to be me. What do you guys think? Did it make sense? Did it not make sense? Thank you for watching. Drop a like and a follow, and or subscribe if you are new. And I will see you in the next Chicago Bulls related video. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.